So you're thinking about moving to Noblesville, Indiana, but you want to know what are the pros, the cons, the good, bad, and everything in between. Well, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today with 4 pros and 4 cons. Stick around and find out if Noblesville is right for you. So jumping straight into the pros, pro number 1 is going to be cost of housing. You might be asking yourself, how does Noblesville price compare to Carmel, Westfield, and Fishers? Well, on average, Noblesville pricing is slightly better when it comes to housing. The average cost for a house in Noblesville is going to be 43% cheaper than Carmel, 22% cheaper than Westfield, and 13% cheaper than Fishers. Rent is also a little cheaper in Noblesville too, with the average rent for a 1,000 square foot apartment being $1,455. Now that's not including utilities. Whereas the average rent for the same apartment in Carmel is going to be $1,623. So it's a 10% increase in price. For Fishers, we're looking at $1,513, so a 3% increase. Westfield is going to be $1,590, so that's an 8% increase. When it comes to the median home price in Noblesville, it's going to be $377,500. Now that median home price is just an average. It really just depends on what you're looking for, square footage, lot, all that. Noblesville also has lower property taxes, but that also depends on how big the property is. When it comes to new construction, there are tons of neighborhoods being built in Noblesville. Some of those neighborhoods are going to start in the low 300s, like Arbor Homes and My Homes have some neighborhoods that start in the low 300s and more. You really just kind of have to check it out with all the building that's going on in Noblesville because they have the space to expand. Pro number 2 for Noblesville is it has a lot to do. It has a lot to offer. You got things like Morse Reservoir. It's a 1,500 acre body of water, and it's surrounded by 35 miles of shoreline. Morse Reservoir is bordered by Cicero to the north and Noblesville to the south. It has parks that are open year-round, beaches, a golf course, and the beach is open from Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day every year. Then in August, the beach is open only during the weekends until winter time. If you're a fan of going to live music shows, you have Ruoff Music Center, and Noblesville is building a new events center that's set to be open in 2025. That's going to be the home of the Indiana Pacers G League franchise. Noblesville also has a good amount of parks. One of the more notable parks are going to be Forest Park. It was established in December of 1925. It has over 125 acres, 5 shelters available for events. You have a Forest Park in banquet facility, skate park, basketball court, tennis court, and it also has a 9-hole golf course too. You also have snow tubing as well during the winter at Cowatee Run Park. Noblesville also has a lot for shopping as well. You have the Hamilton Town Center that's got over 90 retail shops and restaurants, and a theater with 16 IMAX screens. The theater itself is pretty cool. I've been there many times. They have nice reclinable seats that are both heated and cooled, so you should definitely check that out if you're in Hamilton Town Center. Pro number 3 is going to be the schools in Noblesville. Noblesville has a nationally recognized school district with A-rated schools according to niche.com, and Noblesville A-rated school district is scoring above the state and national academic averages, which is really great. The district serves over 10,000 students. It's nationally recognized to be the top 1% for STEM programs, and graduates rank among the best in the state for scholarship awards, college admissions, acceptances, and even advanced college credits that are earned. The school district has a 97% graduation rate with a 46% in honor diplomas. Noblesville has a total of 10 schools, 1 high school, 2 middle schools, and 7 elementary schools, and over 300 athletic teams, clubs, and organizations. And on top of that, the school district is the largest employer in Noblesville with over 1,700 employees, including 700 teachers. Pro number 4 of living in Noblesville is going to be its growing economy. Noblesville continues to grow, and so does its economy. Over the last 3 years, Noblesville has dedicated over $1.2 billion in development, and that brings close to 2,150 new jobs. The city is also investing in residential condos and apartments. The city has recently approved a new project to develop 603 acres in previously annexed East Noblesville into a mixed-use development that's going to be built by the Pulte Group. This will be the first mixed-use multi-general development in Noblesville. And like I had mentioned in pro number 2, Noblesville is currently building a new event center that is set to open in 2025. It's going to be the home of the Indiana Pacers G League franchise. There are also going to be new commercial developments in Noblesville, and the city is incentivizing businesses to move to Noblesville. And that's going to mean more economic growth, more tax dollars, and more residents. Some of the business incentives are going to be land grants, workforce grants, forgivable loans, which mean the city can provide upfront cash loans, which is then forgivable after a period of time once certain project performances and commitments have been met, if a company does qualify for those. And then you have the TIF, which is short for a tax increasement financing. Man, that is hard to say. It's a tool that's used to stimulate growth and economic development in specific areas. TIF takes newly assessed property taxes from a new development to finance and incentivize new development and redevelopment projects in the same area. If you found this video helpful and you want to know everything there is to know about living in Central Indiana, go ahead and subscribe below so you can be the first to learn about everything there is to know about living in Central Indiana. My business partner Julie and I, we get calls and texts every single day from people just like you who are looking to make the move to Central Indiana. So whether that's in 9 days or 9 months, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or set up a Zoom call. Now back to the video. I know Noblesville sounds like a really great place to live, but unfortunately there are some cons to Noblesville. So con number one is going to be traffic / slow drivers. This is one of my biggest pet peeves about Noblesville. Traffic in Noblesville isn't terrible during the day except during rush hour, and once you get into downtown Noblesville it can get really congested. There are lots of traffic lights downtown. They have, I think, like 3 or 4 traffic lights just lined up one after the other in downtown Noblesville, so it gets very congested and it's very difficult at times to make a left turn because you have no left turn arrow. In my opinion, it would be really nice if they had roundabouts at all 4 intersections, but that's going to create a whole bunch of new problems because of road closures. Another big thing with the traffic is when you're driving on State Road 32, people don't drive the speed limit. The speed limit is anywhere from 45 to 50. Honestly, if you ask me, the speed limit is just a suggestion unless there's a cop around. People just drive very slow on 32 and it can be very infuriating. So just make sure when you are trying to get somewhere and you have to take State Road 32, just leave with plenty of time to get there because you will encounter slow drivers. Con number 2 of living in Noblesville, Indiana is going to be flooding. In certain areas, there can be flooding in Noblesville, especially since the White River runs through the heart of downtown Noblesville, and because of that, some areas are more prone to flooding. I know in recent years, the city of Noblesville did a little bit of work on the White River, so it wouldn't flood that much anymore. Because of the White River, if your home is in a floodplain, you will be required to have flood insurance, which unfortunately can add a couple $100 a month to your monthly mortgage payments. You'll probably pay at least $1,000 a year plus in terms of flood insurance, but that's why if you have to have flood insurance on your home, you need to talk to a good insurance person to get the proper insurance and coverage. And the thing with flooding is, you know, property damage and road closures. So that's one big con, honestly, of Noblesville is you still have the flood maps and there still can be flooding at times. Not very often, but still can happen. Con number 3 is going to be Noblesville is further away from things like downtown Indianapolis. That's 40 minutes away. The airport can be 45 to 50 minutes away, depending on traffic. And some parts of Noblesville, they're just farther out from some of those amenities. And some areas are more rural, which can be a good or bad thing depending on what you're looking for. The nice thing is if you're looking for a home with lots of land, or you're looking to purchase land, you can then build a house with lots of acreage. But also one thing to consider then is all the building that is kind of going out into Noblesville in the rural areas, because you have a housing shortage, there needs to be more housing. So you might be able to build something with lots of acreage, but in the coming years, you could then be surrounded by neighborhoods. So that's another thing to think about. Con number 4 of living in Noblesville, Indiana is going to be limited public transportation. There is very minimal public transportation in Noblesville. You do have the IndyGo transportation system, but that does not extend to Noblesville, Indiana. The city does have Noblesville public transit, but it requires 24 advance notice, and based on the Google reviews of 2.4 stars, it's not good whatsoever. Luckily, downtown Noblesville is very, very walkable, but parking can also be a very big issue in downtown Noblesville. But beyond the downtown Noblesville area, you're gonna need to have a car to get around places. If you don't have a car and need some kind of transportation, honestly, Uber or Lyft are gonna be your best options. So those are my 4 pros and 4 cons of living in Noblesville, Indiana. Noblesville does have a lot to offer its residents and non-residents, like a good school district and a great growing economy. And if you've been to Noblesville before, comment below and let me know what your opinions are of the area, what your pros and what your cons are. And remember, if you're looking to move in 9 days or 9 months, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or set up a Zoom call.